Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the second part of Trials, Tears, and Testimonies. We have several women that are going to come on and give you a little bit about their story, about their testimony, and just give you some information so that we as women can take care of ourselves. Make sure we get those mammograms and self advocate for ourselves. So we want to welcome you. Thank you for joining us. And we're going to bring in the other ladies in the room. We have Celestine. Hi, Celestine.
Hi, how you do?
I am well. Hi, Sharon. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. And hey, how are you?
Wonderful, thanks. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for being here.
I wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
Absolutely. Okay, we're going to get started. Barbara, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on with the camera, but maybe you'll pop in. I wanted to see you, sister-in-law.
Oh, well, maybe it will come through.
I hope so. Okay, ladies, we're going to get started because I don't want to take up your time. I know this is Breast Cancer Month and we're all extremely busy. So I just wanted you to come on, give a little bit about your story. Tell us if you're doing anything, as far as your organizations that you've started, if you're speaking. Just give these women out there a little bit of what we do, not just in the month of October, but every day of every month. I'll start out. My name is Sharon Powell. I am a 13-year survivor healed by the grace of God. I live in Nevada and I am extremely busy every day. I work with Susan G. Komen, Circle of Promise, and I just reach out and do so much and as much as I can for breast cancer survivors. Um, Breast cancer was never in our family as far as I knew. And in 1996, my niece, who was 36 years old, was diagnosed with breast cancer. And we've never had anyone in our family that we knew of with the disease. And so I went through that with her and I learned a little bit about it. I didn't know a lot about breast cancer prior to 1996. And when I went through the journey with my niece, Terry, um, it was hard watching her go through the trials of battling this disease. Unfortunately, she lost her battle on this side to the disease. 2 days prior to her passing, she asked me if I would do everything that I could to help find a cure. And at that time, of course, I donated money to the cause and I never did do a breast cancer walk because I never had time. But I would donate and I would wear the pink ribbon and try to participate in as many things as I could. But once she was diagnosed, and then when she lost the battle, she asked me if I would do what I could, not even knowing 7 years later that I would be diagnosed with the same breast cancer disease. So from that day on, I started learning everything that I could with my own diagnosis, my own treatment. I leaned heavily on my sister in law because she had already gone through it prior to me going through it. So the bond is very, very strong with survivors. There's not a state and probably country that you can't reach out, and somebody will be there for you. And this is what we want to do today. We had one last Sunday as well, and we can't do what we normally do as thrivers and survivors because of COVID this year, but this is all we can do. So we're going to do this on camera. So if I get emotional or I don't say the hellos and the goodbyes, I just want to thank each and every one of you for taking out some time in your day to come and share with us and the women that have joined the live, to just tell us where you're from, your diagnosis, how you're dealing with it, and what you've done since you've been diagnosed and started your survivorship. And we may have someone here that's a metaviver, and she'll explain to you what that is. So, first we have Celestine Jessup. We can hear you this week. Thank you so much.
Yes.
And then we have Sharon Green. Sharon, you're from, tell me where you're.
Surrey, I'm from Surrey, BC, Canada.
All right. Thank you so much. And we've got Barbara Bentley Powell. That's my sister in law, and she's on.
Yes,
Barbara, can you? Okay. And she's calling in from Virginia. And then we
yes.
have my friend Colleen Wilt. I just loved you so much. I watch everything that you and your husband are doing, and it just brightens my day with everybody. Sharon, you crack me up every single day. You know why. So we're keeping our fingers crossed, okay? So
Okay.
Celestine, can we go ahead and start with you
Yes,
today?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, on October 31st, I will be celebrating 20 years, but it's three bouts. I had my first bout in 2000. Then that was one type of cancer. That was ductal carcinoma in situ. Then in 2005 and 2006, I had the same type of cancer, which is metaplastic spindle cell carcinoma. When I had it in 2000, they I went to the doctor because I had them the night before. I had blood on my shirt, and I thought it was jelly. The kids, when I came home from work, they was jumping up and down on me. So when I went in my room that night, I took my shirt off because it had seeped through the shirt. And when I took my shirt and my bra off, it was blood and milk all in my bra. So I went to the doctor, and I was working at a grocery store. I was living in Orlando, Publix, and they had came around and asked them, did we need health insurance? And I said, really, no, because nothing was wrong with me, and I was really healthy. I was had just started going to school for nursing, and I said, I don't need that taken out of my check. I'm only working 20 hours. I'm donating to the United Way, and everything. All these little fees was taken out, and I think something just said get health insurance. So I said, okay, I'm gonna get health insurance. I got Blue Cross Blue Shield because I had the state insurance already. So when I went to the doctor, I just presented my state insurance. I didn't present the Blue Cross Blue Shield because I didn't even um, think about it at all because I it wasn't nothing wrong. So then they was saying that there's something wrong. They did the mammogram. It didn't show up on the mammogram. But when they were doing the mammogram, as they were squeezing down, blood and milk was just shooting, shooting out. So then they said, well, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing we can do. Um, so then when I said, well, something is wrong with me. I said, I know I don't feel a lump, but something is wrong with me. So then when I told them, I said, oh, yeah, I got another insurance, my Blue Cross Blue Shield. Oh, they started checking off all of this. Ultrasound, they, was checking this. And sure enough, when an ultrasound came back, it showed I had a mass. Then they did the biopsy, and that confirmed that I had but I had stage 0 of ductal carcinoma in situ. But if I didn't have that insurance, back in 2000, that I probably would have just lived and wouldn't have never thought, the breast cancer would have probably been growing and growing and growing, and you know, nothing else would have been happening to me. So when I had reconstruction, and that was a nightmare because I didn't have anybody to advocate for me, so I didn't know what reconstruction was, what it involved with. I'm thinking that the reconstruction, when they told me they was gonna make me a breast, I'm thinking they gonna take um, the tissues and the muscles and everything out, and then stuff it where they took the breast away. No, this reconstruction transplant surgery, they tunneled all of those things, the muscles and everything, inside of me underneath, and built me a breast. And I didn't know it was an 11-hour surgery. My
Mm.
sister was sitting out there waiting because I would have told her, and she said she just kept wondering what was wrong with me. She kept going up there, and they kept telling me I'm in surgery. I'm in surgery still. So when they did the reconstruction, um, they wanted to do, one doctor wanted to do radiation, one doctor didn't. So the doctor that didn't want to do it, he said, "Well, I don't want to do it because if it's a reoccurrence, we can't do radiation in that area again." So they just watched me, and then I was, for 6 months, I couldn't finish school because my man was baffled. I failed all my classes. I was going to school for nursing. I completed 1 year, and that was it. All my answers was wrong on my test and everything. My daughter was going to school with me. She had just turned 20, and me and her was in college together. And she was passing, and me, I'm just struggling, didn't do it. So, okay, we're going to fast forward to 20, 2005. I didn't do the radiation. So when 2005 came, by that time I had moved up to Omaha, Nebraska. Um, it was I thought it was a mosquito bite. It was a sore on the reconstruction site. And I was scratching and scratching. I scratched it into a sore because I thought it was a mosquito bite. And so then they sent me to the breast specialist, and he said, "Well, we'll take some tests and see." So when they did the pathology, it took like 3 or 4 months before the results came back, and I was going crazy because I didn't know what was going on. And I kept calling and asking, "What's my answer? What's my answer?" And then they said they had to send it out to some outside pathologists because they didn't know. So when it came back, it was a rare cancer at that time in 2005 with the metaplastic spindle cell carcinoma. So what they did, they just did surgery in that spot, still kept the reconstruction, but it was on top of that reconstruction. So they did the surgery. Then they watched me. A year later, it came back. This time when it came back, it had invaded my lymph nodes, and then they removed about 20 lymph nodes, I believe, and the cancer was in like 11 of them. So I told him just take the reconstruction site away. If I would have thought, or if I probably would have had an advocate, I would have had them to remove the other breast too. So for years I was walking around lopsided with one breast. They did uh, they did chemotherapy and radiation, and every time I was coming in for my appointments, my nurses, I had a good team, and it was
Yeah.
this team that I had. It was so awesome in Omaha. I would never go nowhere else but to Omaha for a doctor's appointment. They stood around and they was talking to my daughters and me, and was telling us that the cancer is rare. There is not really the chemo regimen they have for it, and what should I do? My daughter just boo-hoo crying. Somehow God spoke out for me. I stood up, and it was me and my daughter was the only two black women in there. I mean, black people in there. It was like 20. I had a 20 team, and I stood up and I said, "You know what? I'm gonna have God to be ahead of everything that y'all do. To give y'all the knowledge, skill y'all hands for the surgery, to think of a regimen for my chemo, for my radiation, whatever." Because I didn't know none of this stuff. I didn't know
Right.
radiation, none of that, that language. And I learned the medical terms now. And I said,
Right.
radiologist to do whatever type of radiology, he had to do and everything. So then they all got up and they stood up and they clapped and everything. So then he said, "Well, it's a go." And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Okay, I said, whatever the strongest chemo you have, since you don't have one that's specifically for metaplastic spindle cell carcinoma, whatever you have. So we was on the go. Every time I was coming for my appointments, my doctors, we all knew each other by first names. I called Dr. Calvin because with him in it, but my nurses, I knew them by first name. Me and Dr. Calvin, he's white. He's about 10 years older than me. We born on the same day, April 7th. And every time we see each other, we hug. So, um, uh, my radiologist, he had it's the stuff called boost. He had to do extra radiation for me because he wanted to make sure, and I was burnt to a crisp. I had to wear this mesh thing and have this stuff called silver dawn. My kids had to dress my wounds, and I was just it was peeling off. Just my skin was just I could look at it and look down and see it just peeling, peeling, peeling. I get wanting to cry every time I think about this because I just it just I don't know. It was such an awesome, awesome thing. God, all through my chemotherapy appointments, my kids was in school because my oldest was 20 when I first had it. So I had a 7-year-old, a 9-year-old, a 10-year-old. I had all these little kids and they was coming in there fluffing my pillows and everything. And I was going through the house saying, "Oh, Jesus, Jesus," all day long, just Jesus, Jesus. I had to get all of this uh, energy up so that when my daughter and them came home from school, they would never thought I was in any kind of pain or anything. They didn't know nothing. And but now my kids, I give them the ultimate love, unconditional love, because they still, even till this day, treat me like a baby. They were just there by my side. They just thought they was gonna lose their mom. And I mean, like now I have a baby shower out there. One of my daughters is having my other grandbaby, and I got a cane walking me through, telling everybody, "Move out my mama's way, move out my," that's how they. But insurance is the most important thing in your health because they wouldn't have went no further in 2000 once I had just that state
Right.
insurance. And then when I told them I had other insurance, then that's when they went on and started doing other tests. So this thing with our voting and everything, health insurance, I and if people can get at least two insurances, I don't know. I've been trying to see about getting advocate into insurance, but I always tell people to try to get more insurance, more insurance. So, but
Right.
I've
Right.
been through other things. I've been homeless. We've been through our we had a lot of trials and tribulations, in our life. My kids stopping school, starting, stopping. We in debt with student loans because my daughter started, and then she stopped, and then $50,000 in student loans, and I mean and even myself, I have student loans because I had to stop school. But I mean, God got us. He's been watching over us. We haven't been
Absolutely.
homeless anymore, so. Um, but the things that you go through, you learn, and then you do better. So, but I love you guys. I'm gonna stay on here for a few more minutes because I got to go back out there to the baby shower.
Okay. Well, we are so glad that
Ask
you
me
were
any
able to
questions,
join us.
and I'm on. I see Sharon every day. I'm on there with Sharon every. I'm so glad to meet you, Sharon. I'm on
I am
when I'm on
so,
Facebook with you. She be
yes,
having me
yes,
laughing at the things that she be writing and stuff.
that's it. Okay. Monique, hi. How are you? You look
Hello,
beautiful.
how are you?
I
I'm
am
good.
so well. Thank you. And we just want to go ahead and this
Glad to
is
hear.
Monique. Let me see if I can pronounce it right. I'm just going to say Monique Green. Okay, yeah,
Category.
that's what I knew I didn't have it right.
But
Yeah.
that's fine.
So this is Monique, everybody. We've got
It's
Colleen,
okay.
Celestine, Sharon Green as well. So Sharon, if you want to go ahead, tell us where
Hi,
you're
hey
from,
everybody. Hey Celestine.
give us a little bit of your
Hi,
story.
hi. I'm Sharon from the suburbs of Vancouver, Canada. Um, I can relate to both your stories in certain ways. Sharon, like you, I grew up thinking I was from a non-cancer family. It was a very small family, suddenly in the 80s, my mother got breast cancer. My aunt got breast cancer. My mother then got ovarian cancer. So suddenly we were a cancer family. Um, but this was long before genetic testing came along. This was my first bout with cancer was in 1988. I'm a 32-year survivor, but like Celestine,
Um,
I've had it 4 times. So to some people, my story is a horror story. They don't want to hear it, particularly if they're either newly diagnosed or newly finished treatment. They don't want to hear it and come back. So that's a horror story for some people. I like to think of it as a story of hope. Um, 32 years, I was 29 when I was first diagnosed. I was again diagnosed at 34, 36, and then at 52. Um, but in those 32 years, I managed to have a legal career, get married, get divorced, adopt 2 children, raise them till like right now they're 19 and almost 21. I managed to still have a life, and to me, that's why I think of it as a story of hope and not really one of fear. I mean, yes, I would have loved it if I only would have had cancer once. I mean, nobody wants it 3 times, 4 times. You don't. You really don't. But the bottom line is it didn't kill me. By luck, by God, by everything else. For me, it's amazing they even found my first one. Kind of like what Celestine went, not the same way, but it was February 1988. Had barely turned 29. Okay, I knew my mother had breast cancer, but I really didn't have that on my brain at all. And it was just kind of an accidental thing, kind of. I was in bed. I think I lifted my arms over my head to stretch, and as my arm came down, it sort of brushed against her breast. And I just felt something didn't seem quite right. And I felt a lump. And I called my doctor, who amazingly enough actually took me seriously, which was again because as I say, this was pre-pink ribbon days. Even this cancer was still kind of a one of those words you whispered in secret. And to me, I always thought, it was a disease of much older people. And look, I right now have a Facebook friend who's 36. She lives in Canada, and when she pointed out problems to her doctor, they just ignored it. Told her she's too young for a mammogram. She's now stage 4. She's dying with a 2-year-old.
mm,
So, I mean, I consider myself really lucky that this doctor took me seriously. Basically, sent me across the street to a hospital to a breast surgeon. They did a mammogram right away. They found a lump. To me, things move lightning fast. My head was spinning. I didn't really like 1 minute I was fine. The next minute I was kind of going for surgery, and it was like, what just happened here? But um, at that time, I was told my options. I could either have a mastectomy or I could have a lumpectomy with radiation. That the outcomes were both the same, pretty much, and it was my choice. And at 29, I was single. I had no children. Didn't have a partner. Um, I didn't want to lose my breast at that time, and so I went the lumpectomy radiation route, and it was hard. I found dating life very difficult because when you're 29 and you're dating a 30-year-old guy, they don't expect you to have had breast cancer. It's one thing when you're all, everybody's a bit older, you kind of are more used to maybe meeting somebody who's not kind of physically perfect or whatever. But, at that time, to me, it was a huge source of shame. And I could not. This was before Facebook, online groups. I couldn't
mm,
even find like anybody to match me with a volunteer that was even remotely my age to talk about my problems. They did send a couple of volunteers because back in those days they used to take out all your lymph nodes at once, as many as they could find, and so then you'd have to learn to use your arm again. And so the first volunteer they matched me with was a great grandmother, and I felt, you've had a life. You've had like a 50-year marriage. You've had kids. You've had grandkids. Your own great grandkids. Like, what's that got to do with my life, type of thing. And but I mean, life went on. When I went for my checkups, I did my, I went for my mammograms. I did my thing. I went up to my 5-year cure appointment, and it was, by this point I had basically in my mind kind of put it behind me. I figured I was cured. I mean, the 5-year mark is when you're cured, right? So there I was going for my last appointment, and I knew things were going wrong when I had my mammogram. They had me go sit in the room, and then they called me back. And then more people started coming in the room, and more, and like so, and they wouldn't tell me anything, but it was pretty obvious that something wasn't quite right. And that's when I learned it had come back to the same breast. And so this time, because I'd had radiation, the only option was mastectomy and chemotherapy. So I was 34 then. I did that, about 9 months of chemotherapy. They weren't sure if my fertility would be affected or not. And about a year later, it looked like maybe everything was going to be fine on that front, until I tried to get pregnant and couldn't. And so I was one of the first at this point. No, sorry. I'm sorry. Let me just do one more thing. So I was 34. It looked like my period came back. Things were good. 36. I went for just like a checkup. They found a very small, tiny little cancer in the other breast. Again, I had the option of what to do, and at this time, the genetic testing was just starting out, the BRCA testing. And I was tested, and they said I was negative. And I thought, that's pretty weird, having it 3 times in 7 years, under 40. But they told me I was negative, so I went the lumpectomy radiation route again. Found I couldn't get pregnant. Ended up going to see fertility doctors, and I think I was the first person with breast cancer in Canada to actually get IVF treatment, because nobody knew quite what to do. I tested negative, so it didn't look like I had a genetic problem. There really was no experience, so I know that the fertility clinic contacted the cancer clinic, who's calling California, San Francisco. Anyway, they finally said, okay, do it. It didn't appear to do any harm, I guess. I didn't get pregnant, but it didn't appear to do any harm. Anyways, at that point, I ended up adopting 2 children, and things seemed to go smoothly for the next 16 years. And then at 52, with 2 school-aged children, it was back again. And again, it was a mammogram find. And this time, as each time went on, I was becoming more and more of an advocate for myself. And by this time, okay, it wasn't the millions of people coming in, but it was like them doing more and more pictures, type of thing. And to the point where I just kind of looked at her and I said, I know what's going on here. I said, I want to talk to the radiologist now. And for whatever reason, he actually came into the room. It was obvious he didn't deal with patients much, because he just stared at his shoes the whole time, wouldn't look at me. And I said, look, I've been down this road 3 times before. Is it cancer or is it not? And he kind of mumbled and said, yeah, it looks like it's another malignancy. And I was like, okay, now this time it's no longer just me that I have to worry about now. I'm a single mom, 2 kids, you know, what's going to happen. So I had the mastectomy. They also told me at that time, oh, by the way, maybe you should get genetically tested again. It's now improved. So I did. After the mastectomy and I started the chemo, I went for the genetic testing, and lo and behold, I was BRCA1 positive, because before it had only tested to see if things were rearranged in your DNA, and mine weren't. Mine were just missing. I was just missing, like they said, it was like a book where somebody had ripped out the last 4 chapters. It just ended where, like, long before it should have. And So that was 9 years ago. Knock on wood. February will be 10 years since I lost cancer. So I consider it. I consider it a story of hope. I think I hold the record now at my cancer clinic of their longest breast cancer survivors. So I feel compelled to keep that title.
That's right. That's great. Just keep going. Just keep going.
Yeah.
And we're so glad that you shared with us. So you learned how to become your own breast cancer advocate. And
Yes.
that's the thing that we have to do. We have to continue to do that for ourselves and for others. So
Exactly.
then we have Barbara Bentley Powell. We can't see you. Are you there? Or are you gone? Okay. Barbara dropped off. We couldn't see her. So, Colleen, would you go ahead and tell us where you're from and a little bit about you? Okay, we have no sound. Unmute yourself, Colleen. Unmute.
Okay, here we go. I was trying, I kept clicking and it wouldn't work. Hello, and Sharon, I'm so thankful for your life. Thank you, thank you, thank you. My journey, regular like everybody else, you go for that mammogram. But before my mammogram, I've always gone for the last, I guess, about 20 years now, or more than that. I had a sister that passed from cancer, so I got involved with Relay for Life. That was my journey into understanding, never knowing that I would need the American Cancer Society also. So I got very active and involved in Relay for Life, always had a team, years, about 5 or 6 years, all of that. And then one day I went and had my mammogram. And most black women, we have dense breasts. So they call me back, and I'm always okay with the call back because they always say, oh, it's just dense breasts. This
Right.
time I went back and it was different. They took me into a different room. So I'm like, okay, this is different. And it was. I walked in. I hadn't said anything to any members of my family that I had gotten the return call because I can handle this. Hey, this is something I can handle. And I walked in and I found out that very, I thought, strong Caribbean woman was placed on her knees after a couple of minutes of listening to them tell me that I am now a breast cancer survivor. And I'm like, survivor? You're just telling me. So how? So he explained, survivor mean that you got the diagnosis. Some people don't get it. That was very difficult to wrap my head around. So in the midst of this appointment, thank you, Lord, I have a daughter that I could call. And I contacted her and she came in because all the strength went, I don't know where. All my faith went, I don't know where for that moment. And I could call her because she could hear what they were saying to me and write it down because we know you've got to keep good records of all of this. So started that journey and then found a surgeon like you, Miss Green. I had a lumpectomy. um, had no clue what that meant. When they started giving you all these choices and you're reading, they gave me, I had a nurse navigator, but there's so much information, even though I had been on the fringe of Relay and reading, until it's happening to you, it's totally different. I don't care who you are. Until it's happening to you, it's a horse of another story. So I went through the lumpectomy, and then I did intense radiation. And like you ladies, because we've all learned that you have to have a good caregiver, a good caregivers, and you need a doctor that's going to listen to you because you know your body. And you must advocate, and you have to have people who will stand with you in those doctors' offices when they're telling you you're going to do this, this, and this, to hear it all and write it all down. So as I went through my journey, I loved my surgeon. I did, because I felt like my surgeon was exceptional in terms of she heard me and she saw me and she knew me. I find for me, my personal experience was that every I have a good doctor now. I didn't feel like the doctor that I had my first 5 years. He didn't hear me. I wanted to do a lot of holistic things. And of course, if you've been down that portion of the road, they tell you, well, the AMA, it's not recognized. We can't tell you this. We don't want you doing this. And my biggie was chemotherapy and chemo drugs. You're killing me. The chemotherapy and chemo drugs, yes, you're killing the bad, but you're also killing the good. And I'm trying to stay as healthy as I possibly can. And I'm trying to partner with God because this is who my source is. He's given you some wisdom, but he's also given me some. And he's also given other people around me in my sphere of influence. So I started doing a lot of research continuously and continually. And of course, as a breast cancer survivor, thriver, they tell you 5 years, or now they're saying 10 years, but we always know that it's right on the back of our shoulder. It's always right there. Every time something happens, you're looking around. Could it be this time? And so with that, I changed some things in my world. My husband and I decided to move from our comfort zone around family and friends, and we moved to an area where there was a good, first and foremost, good hospital, very good cancer treatment hospital and other healthcare, and a different kind of lifestyle, because we decided we were going to live and enjoy the rest of our days, trusting God, partnering with him, and then partnering with each other to live each day. Do the things that you're always waiting to do. That's why I love Sharon too. We're not waiting to do stuff anymore. You're waiting until this is perfect, and you're waiting.
That's right.
Until anything is perfect. We are living every single day. And COVID has helped a lot of people to get to that place. Cancer is something that invades your body and your mind. And if you don't keep your mind right, and I will tell everybody as an advocate and someone who mentors other young women and saying, hey, do it, live authentically, and don't allow the fear to constantly tap you on the shoulder, because it's there. It's there, or you're lying. This is how I see it. Either you're lying to yourself, and we don't need to do that, because the Bible says no man knows the day or the hour the Son of Man is going to appear for us individually. So
absolutely.
So that's how we're living our life on this cancer journey, because it hasn't gone away. I've learned a lot from 2011 to now. We think we love it when they tell us, oh, you're cancer free. That's not true. We all have cancer cells in our body. And until I understood that and knew that there were some things that I needed to do to mitigate those cancer cells, that's the fear and the getting upset and all. There are natural things that we can do. So understanding all of that was part of my journey, and why I, like you, I feel I'm blessed on this journey. I have a good support system. There are days when I feel like I'm 150 years old in my body because I hurt, and things that someone else can do easily, I can't do easily. I like Miss Green. When they take those lymph nodes, there was a point in my life when I couldn't raise my hand over my head. I couldn't do it. It was something I could not do. Now I can. The not giving up, understanding that we don't have to give up, that some of it we have a choice and some of it we don't. And those things that you have a choice about, make the choice to be the best that you can be when you can be it. And the days that you can't, just cover your head and lay on your bed. That's my cancer story. That's my story. Understanding that I don't want my daughters or granddaughters, nieces, nephew, my neighbor's friend, I don't want them to go through. So I'm willing to advocate. I'm willing to spend my money. I'm willing to do the walks. I'm willing to do the talks. I go out and speak to high schools, wherever you ask, I'm going to go, because Yeah, we have to. We have to
We have
understand.
to.
We must
And that
understand.
that that
Go
that
ahead.
is the most important thing, is that, even with this forum, because of COVID, it still can't stop
Stop.
us from
Mhm.
encouraging other women to make sure they take care of their bodies, make sure that they examine their breasts, have that yearly mammogram. So whatever it takes, I'm not techie at all, but this is the only thing I have, so I'm going to use what I have. Thank you
Platform.
so much, Colleen. And we don't want
Namaste.
to go over time, but my beautiful Monique, please give us a little bit about your story. I'm so glad to finally see your face moving.
So glad to be here, Sharon, and thank you so much for inviting me. Yes, so my name, is Monique Green, and my cancer journey started in 2008. This is my second battle. So I was first diagnosed in 2008, and I had stage 2 ductal carcinoma in situ, and it was
Mm.
just right in my breast, localized right there in my breast. And I went through everything I had to go through. I went through chemo. I went through my radiation. And was it hard? Yes, it was hard at that time. I could barely move after treatments. I was in a bed for like a week at a time until it was time to go back for my other treatment. It's been a journey from 2008. And one thing I will say is that, and I lost my hair and everything. I had to take the chemo and the red devil, which they call it. Which makes you
Yeah.
lose your hair and everything. I went through all that for the year, and was cancer, what they say, cancer free. But I always say, remission. But look, even remission to me is free. If you don't have it at the time, you're free from it. If it chooses to come back, it comes back. But I was cancer free for 10 years until it came back in 2017, December, the end of December. I always just say January, of 2018, it came back. But in 2017, I was going through so much pain, and I didn't know what it was. I was back and forth in the doctor's offices, and they couldn't find what it was. So, my whole year I was going through just pain. And it started in my shoulders, and it got to the point where it radiated down my arms, and it started down my back, and then it just went all over. The pain, I could barely move. Went to the doctors, like I said, off and on. In September they diagnosed me with fibromyalgia. That's something that they diagnose you with, I guess, when they can't find anything else.
Right.
So after that, I think it was October, it started getting a little worse. I could barely move. I could barely get dressed. My coworkers had to help me out the seat just to get up, and walk. And, family had to help me get dressed. I said, something's going on. I don't think fibromyalgia will treat you like this, to the point where you could barely walk. So went back and forth, to the doctors again. And then I think toward the end of December, they took some blood work, and they said my liver enzymes and my alkaline phosphatase came back high. And they said that's usually a sign of liver or bone disease. So they said they wanted to do some bone scans and liver scans. So I said, sure. I did that, and came back. And the funny thing was, I did that on a Thursday. Um, my doctor made an appointment for me on Monday to come back for the results. And you know how they have the thing called my chart, where you can look on your chart and get your
Mm.
results for the things that you've done for that, that day. So I did that, but they weren't supposed to put it up there. So I happened to just check my chart. I think I put the app on my phone. I went to look to see if it was done, right. And when I
Right.
did, I seen my results up there. And I said, when I read it, it said widespread metastatic disease. They said too numerous, to count, which was, so I said, now metastatic. I said, I heard of that before. And I didn't know what it was at the time, but I heard of it. Um, I think when somebody was diagnosed before in 2008, I heard of metastatic, and I didn't know what it was at the time. So when I seen metastatic, I said, I hope I don't have no cancer. I hope the cancer didn't
Mm.
come back. Is that what they're saying? That is widespread? So I didn't know, so the whole weekend I was panicked, worried. And I went to the doctor that Monday, and I said, I don't think I gave her a chance to talk. As soon as I went into the office. I said, doctor, I said, I checked on Friday, my chart. I said, why would they put that on the chart and have me wait all weekend to come to see you Monday? She said, well, first, let me say that wasn't supposed to happen. She said, they weren't supposed to
Mm.
put it on my chart. I was going to tell you the results personally. How it got up there, I don't know. So I was
Right,
just too through with that because the whole weekend, like I said, I was panicked. So,
right, right.
yeah, so she sat, I said, so do I have cancer? I said, and what are they saying? I said, I seen widespread. What are you saying? What is the result saying? So she said,
Mhm.
yes, it's saying that you have widespread, it's widespread throughout your body, your bones. Um, she said, so I can't do anything further. So what I'm gonna have to do, because she was a primary care physician. So she said, what I'm
Right.
gonna have to do is, refer you to an oncologist. So I was already, affiliated with Rex Hospital here in Raleigh, North Carolina. So I said, that's where I'll go. And so, I mean, it just seems like everything was just taking so long for them to do, and
Mhm.
when I was first diagnosed in 2008, everything went so quick. I'm like, they got me in there,
Right.
did my chemo, my radiation, port, everything. And it seems like when I was diagnosed with the stage 4, everything was taking so long. So
Mhm.
I didn't even get started with chemo and everything till 2 months after my diagnosis. I'm like, why are y'all taking a year and a day? I'm here
Right.
diagnosed now with stage 4, and it seems like y'all are taking longer to get treatment started. So, I was just, I was in an uproar, really, just being diagnosed with stage 4 anyway. And they saying it was widespread throughout my bones, from my skull down. And it was
Mm.
also in my liver, So when you're diagnosed stage 4 metastatic, that means that it has, moved from the local area that it was in your breast to other
Mm.
organs, other parts of the body. So that's what metastatic disease is. So when you hear somebody said they're diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer, that's why it's spread from
Right.
from the breast to other parts of the body. So yeah, so like I said, they took so long to even start a treatment regimen plan. I guess they had to see what kind of cancer I had, if it was different than breast cancer. So all that took some time. But I was in a depression at first, and I will say that I was in a depression because they said it was terminal. There's no cure for stage 4.
Right.
All they can do is treat it, slow down
Right.
progression. So yeah, that put me in a deep depression for the first 2-3 months. And yeah, I had to make a choice to snap out of it. I said, look, I could either, succumb to my diagnosis, or I can live with it. So, I chose to live with it, because I knew I serve a God that's bigger than cancer. So I could not just lay down there and die. So excuse me, because I get emotional sometimes, when I talk about it. But I just want to say to people, look, don't let your diagnosis dictate how you're going to live. I don't care what the doctors
Yeah.
diagnose you with, live your life. Okay. Because being that I was diagnosed with stage 4 metastatic breast cancer does not mean that the cancer is going to take me out. Something else could take me out. So I can't live my life
Exactly.
every day saying, look, is cancer going to take me out? I can't do that. That will, look, you thinking like that will take you out faster than your diagnosis. So
That's
I
right.
say to people, I try to inspire people, look, just live your life. Live life to the fullest, live it limitless, and don't let your diagnosis dictate how you're going to live your life every day. If you serve a God, you know, that can do anything but fail, then trust him. And,
Yeah.
some people, live without hope, and that's why I just try to encourage people every day with my little messages, just to live, it doesn't matter. I don't care. If you can get out that bed and God gives you strength to do it, show up every day, show up, get up
Right.
and look, make yourself look beautiful if you can, you know. Stage 4 does not mean that you're going to die tomorrow, so my thing is
Right.
live. Yeah, it's a very up and down roller coaster disease because yeah, I'm not going to say that I don't think some days, like if I get a pain, is it spreading, has it progressed? I'm
Right.
not going to say that and lie. If I'm diagnosed with stage 4, I think any little pain that we get, we will think that, so I just say, look, don't beat yourself up. Embrace every day, embrace every second, every minute, every hour that you have. Share, make memories with your family, and just live. You know, um,
Absolutely.
yeah, just because we're diagnosed with cancer, look, people are diagnosed with other things as well. I encourage them to live too. Don't
Yes.
let your diagnosis take you down. Live your
And
life,
I,
make
I do.
memories with your family.
Yes. And I think that that is so important that once we become a member of this club, if you will, you do realize that you're going to live every day, whatever it is, you're going to do it, you're going to go, you're going to have fun, do everything. None of us, cancer survivors or anything, HIV, whatever disease it is, that does not, it's not a death sentence. But if we sit around and, oh, woe is me,
That's right. That's
yeah,
right.
that'll kill you quicker than what you've been diagnosed with.
Right.
But
And that's what it
to
was
truth
doing.
be told, none of us, cancer survivors or not, are promised an hour from now.
That's right. We don't know.
So
Only God
once,
knows.
yeah, that's it. You
So I don't
know,
care if
we
they
have the
say,
date that we
3 to 5
came.
years. Only God knows.
Right,
So I can't give it
right.
to, I'm on my third year now, of
Mhm.
thriving. So I can't
Yeah.
say, oh, wow, this is the third year. Is this my time? I'm not going to live my life like that.
Yeah.
Or
Mhm.
do I have two
No,
more
you
years
can't.
now? 3 to 5?
Yes.
Are you kidding
Mhm.
me? That will take, yes, like
Yeah,
you said, that will take you out quicker.
Yeah.
So, look,
exactly.
you do let the doctors do their part. Like I say, you do your part and let God do the rest. Okay. Because only God knows when we're leaving this.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I just encourage
And,
people that
and
hold on to hope. Okay, that's if you
Amen.
don't have
Mhm.
nothing else, hold on to hope.
Yes.
right,
You know,
right. Oh, ladies, we've got about 6 or 7 more minutes, but I did want to get this in for the ladies that, for whatever reason, they have not had mammograms, they're not doing self exams. What
Mhm.
is the best advice that you would give them? 2 minutes. Colleen, go.
Oh, unmute. Am I unmuted?
You're
Okay.
good.
Okay. My best advice is no matter what anyone says, take the time and go. If it's there, if anything, and it's not just cancer, have your yearly, every kind of checkup that you can have with the insurance that you have. And if you see a free anything going around, go and do it. If you have any cancer in your family, it doesn't matter what kind, ensure that you're getting those regular checkups, and those mammograms are important. And something else that is even more important, begin now to live and treat people well so that every single day you're feeding your body the things that will keep you healthy, because it's
Yeah,
holistic, body, mind, and spirit. So you want your
yes,
spirit man, trusting God, but also doing, because he's given you wisdom, doing what you can to partner with him to live your best. As Miss Monique just told you, none of us are
yes.
promised anything, but partner
That's
with
right.
God, trust him, and you got it.
Yes. Sharon,
I would say to the women who are still considered too young to get an annual mammogram or a regular mammogram, get to know your own body, get to know what your breasts feel like, just and so like for me, with my first one, it wasn't that I knew, oh, this is a cancerous lump. What I knew is this doesn't feel right. This feels different. I need to get this checked. It wasn't that I was at some sort of a master self-examiner. In fact, it was like kind of an accidental find. But I would say just get to know your own body, and when things aren't working right, you will know. You will know. If you don't get to know your body, then you may very well miss it. And once you are of an age that you can get a mammogram because you're considered old enough or whatever, do it. Don't put it off. Like things like after being diagnosed with cancer, I mean, like the longest I would ever go was like a year between mammograms, and yet still a cancer will be found, right? So even getting them done yearly doesn't mean that like the next year, when 1 year you're clear, the next year you may have cancer. So like don't skip
Right.
2 years, 3 years, 4 years, or you may find that it's there and maybe something could have been done earlier or maybe not. I mean, early detection isn't always the answer. There are people who catch it or who find early and
Right.
still, like Monique, later it comes back. But I would just say, just really know your body and find a
Yes.
doctor you're comfortable with.
Monique?
Yes. So, I'll piggyback off Sharon, what she just said. It's absolutely necessary to know your body, uh, because only you know how you feel. And when something feels different, you may tell the doctors and, they don't know. You know your body. So, yes, learn your body, know your body, and, be your own advocate, and don't let doctors tell you anything, because they thought it was just a cyst at first with me. So, know your body, that's the key. And look, don't be afraid to get a
Right.
mammogram. Be afraid not to get one. So that's what I always say. Don't be afraid to do it. A lot of women are afraid to do it because they don't want to hear a bad diagnosis. But my thing is, be afraid not to do it. But
Yes.
know your bodies, get checked, make that a priority because it's so important. And like Sharon said, early detection is not always the key, because some people have been diagnosed with stage 4 right off the top. So,
Right.
but I think it's necessary to, get checked so that they
Yes.
can detect it. And if they detect something, they can get done early with treatments, so that they can
Right.
help it and catch it early. So, like my thing is, we just got to trust God. All of our trust and all of our faith have to be in God,
That
and
is
know
true.
that nothing's too hard for him. But be an advocate for your own body. Get your mammograms. Don't be afraid to. Be afraid not to get it. So, yeah. So I just encourage everybody to get your mammograms and live your life.
The best life you can, because that's what we're going through now with this pandemic. There's so many things that we're limited in, but we still have to continue on to live. So, in likeness with breast cancer or any type of, you know, debilitating disease, we just have to get up and keep going until you can't. And that's just the way it is. That's life, because we were all given a day, and I just celebrated mine. But we all know that birth date, but we don't know the date that's already predestined for us to leave here. That's already there. We don't know it, and we don't know what's going to cause it. So just because of a disease of breast cancer or HIV or diabetes, it doesn't matter. Whatever you're going through, take a look at what we're living in right now. And once this thing is over, and I do believe God's going to bring us through it, but I think He's giving us wisdom. He's bringing families closer together. He's giving us the time to know us as well as know Him. And I don't think that I've ever not been able to go to church in my entire life. Maybe I didn't go, but I was never not able to go to a church and walk in the doors. Now, there's a lot of them that are opened up and they've gone back, and that's fine. But my point is, we don't know. Who would have thought about a pandemic that would shut down your city, your church, your schools? So I've kind of balanced that with being a survivor. Are we going to survive this pandemic? None of us know. So we just have to live until we don't. And with that, ladies, I appreciate you so much for taking out time to just spend with me and the ladies that have joined to talk about your journey, to let people see that there is life after a diagnosis. Whether it's metastatic, there's life. Look at this gorgeous woman. She is not sitting around waiting for that 5 year mark. She's making jewelry that I have to have that butterfly, the headdress. Sharon, you're doing so much on Facebook, I can hardly keep up. And Miss Lady, you and your husband travel more than I do. This is what we need to do. Keep going and encourage those people that have not had a mammogram, that don't go to the doctors until it's too late. Go, go and check yourself out. Me and my doctors are on first name basis. I email them, I call them. You have to advocate for yourself and draw in your circle, because there's some people that they don't know what to do. They don't know these words that we had to learn, metastatic. They don't know what that is. They don't know that cancer can come back. They don't know that there's a lot of days that we are depressed and that we are looking over our shoulder when something is wrong. Is that what it is? So even though you may be in remission, there's always a chance. And we can see that we don't like to think about it, but that's a thought that all of us have. Will it come back? I'm not going to sit and dwell. If it comes back, we're going to do whatever it is we have to do. And if it doesn't come back, we're still going to do whatever we have to do. Just trust in God, because He's the one that holds all the answers. And I will stand on His word until I'm out of here, because that's where I look to for my help. If it wasn't for the good Lord, I have no idea where I would be. I don't know if I could get the strength to get on and talk about this, or go out to the different places that I speak of and speak to the women. I don't know, but He lets me know He left me here for a purpose. And I'm not going to just sit on it. What is that saying? If you don't use it, you lose it. So, ladies, we're going to use our voice. We're going to keep telling people about this disease, that it's not a death sentence as long as you stay up on your health. 32 years, 20 years, 13 years, and I'm claiming for you at least another 20 more, Monique. I see those shakes and I see everything that you're doing, and you are doing everything to stay here so you can share and write that book. I'm looking for the book. Thank you so much, ladies. I appreciate you. I'll be calling on you again, but stay in touch with me. Let's make sure that we stay in touch, if not on a daily, on a weekly. And everybody here has voted. All right. We have done our due diligence on this. Breast Cancer Month is almost over for society, but it's never over for us. It's a daily, a monthly walk. So we're going to keep doing what we do, making sure that we share the knowledge that we have. And we're going to keep going. And we'll do this again soon. But I want to thank you. My heart is full that you just jumped right on and gave me everything that I needed for today. Thank you, ladies. I will be texting you. FaceTiming you, because now that I've seen everybody, I've got a whole bunch of sisters that I finally seen. Thank you. God bless you. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. And thank you for taking time out to spend a little bit of it with me and the other ladies that are on the panel. Good night. Thank you.